sweep, then we mop it up. We put it all on the block and then we chop it up, 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 chop it up. We put it all on the block and then we chop it up.
And they can't. A penalty flag is down. We'll check on that. It's in the end zone. But Davis crosses the goal line again.
Illegal substitution on the defense. More than 11 on the field. That penalty will be declined. Result of the play is a touchdown.
Great days.
Welcome back, y'all. This is the Chopping Block Podcast presented by DJ's Clam Shack here in St. Augustine, Florida. And as you just seen there, somebody's got some explaining to do on this first slide. But we welcome you back to the This Week in College Football show on a new date in the week, now going on Tuesday. So we appreciate you joining. Hit the like button, hit the share button. Always throw us a comment here. But we're going to start it off right. Just after the video you saw there, how in the world does the Kentucky Wildcats score on what Dylan Brooks has said all year, the best front seven in college football? But they had 2 extra people on the field, 13 men on the field. Coach, let me throw it to you, because if this happened when we were playing, we'd be throwing up the next day.
You're right. Because as soon as y'all hit the practice field, the first thing I'm going to do is say take off. Y'all know what it meant. But honestly, man, Florida did exactly what I told you last week Florida was going to do. That is something about the way the doctor spanked the kids on the ass, man. They're going to shoot themselves in the foot regardless. I don't care what they do. It was 23-7 at that point in the ball game, and they had shot themselves in the foot 6-7 times before that. So for me to sit and say, oh, man, I can't believe Florida had 13 guys on the field, that was just crazy. They need to do something. No, it's typical. They're going to shoot themselves in the foot no matter what. That's been the biggest issue with Florida. That's been the biggest issue with Florida players, no matter where they are in the United States playing football. The Florida player on your team is the one that gets the flags and always shoots the team in the foot when it comes down to something important or big for them. So it doesn't shock me at all that they had 13 on the field. I'm surprised that the coach wasn't out there with them, because he didn't know what was going on his dadgum self. So no surprise to me. That's just Florida being Florida. It's only good for women and sunshine.
Wow, say how you really feel.
I agree. There's a lot of sunshine down here in Florida. Dylan Beck, I'm glad you don't look as bad as your brother Carson. What do you got to say on this situation?
Yeah, man. That best front seven take ain't looking too hot right now. And it's weird because I stopped watching after the first half. I got tired of watching. But in that first half, they were fitting correctly. They were fitting the run correct. They weren't tackling. It's like I don't know if they didn't want to be there or what it was, or they didn't practice tackling this week, but they just weren't making tackles. Buddy was making everybody miss. And honestly, I think the 13 men, I don't think it was an F up or accidental. I think the coach was like, screw it. We can't stop them with 11. Let's throw on 13, see if we can do it. So that's my take on that.
That's it. That's an interesting way to put it. But yeah, your take is not doing so well. But your college football picks are, or picks in general are. So you got something right going on down there in Silver Creek. But Craig, let's throw it to the old Auburn Tiger. What do you got to say on this?
It wasn't even the best front seven. It was the worst front nine. How you let them score with 13 people on the field? I'd be like getting the whole damn student section down there trying to stop them. Man, that was bad. Armstrong looks bad. Napier looks bad. I'm telling y'all, I said it from the beginning. That seat's getting hot down there. I don't care what that 3-year plan is. In the SEC, it's a show me league, and he ain't showing nothing right now other than getting embarrassed by Kentucky on the road. He's got a couple bad ones this year. I don't think he's long for this world, fellas. Not in the SEC. I could be wrong on that one, but we'll see.
All right. Let's send it down to angry Nick Saban.
Fellas, look at here. When you got 13 guys on defense and they still score, it makes LSU's defense blush. That's terrible. That can't happen. I mean, I don't know who's in charge of counting the players, what position coaches, or are getting substitutions in and out. But some, I don't know. I watched the whole game. Kentucky could have played, or Florida could have played with 13 guys on defense the entire game. Probably still lost by 10. Florida they look terrible. That coach has got to go. There's been absolutely no improvement whatsoever from the day he stepped into Gainesville. So that's my take.
I will say this before we move on. I think it's quite hilarious that on last week's show we were going over a coach that only had 9 or 10 players on the field, and now we got a coach with 13 players on the field. I mean, we just discussed it last week. There are so many people on that sidelines where their only job is to make sure the right people's in and the right number. And I'll be honest, this is peewee football. I mean, you've got time, you've got a play clock. I mean, it's kind of laughable, and I think it's even more funny that it happened to Florida. They have some of the worst fans that I have to deal with down here.
Let me ask you something real quick, man. Do you guys think we're overreacting a little bit? Because
no.
Listen, sometimes it happens. Okay, we all got a job somewhere. Things go wrong. That's their job. Sometimes in the heat of it, when things are very pressure filled, sometimes you mess up. I think we kind of just like a little bit overreacting.
Well, look, man. I mean, none of us are making $4 million a year, and this has been mess. This is constant mess up. It's something every year with Florida, and Billy Napier just not getting the job done anymore.
I mean, if you can't count the 10, if you can't count the 10, because you only got 10 digits, could you keep a coach with some flip flops on or something? It's Florida. I mean, hell, how can you? I mean, that's crazy, man. That's just crazy. 12 on the field is, I get it. 13, I mean, it's like Dylan said. It's like at that point they're just like, hey, let's put the whole team out there and see if we can stop them.
But how did
still couldn't.
This is what I don't understand.
But how did the referees miss it?
Oh, they didn't.
They need some flip flops too.
Oh, so they did call it.
Yeah, they called it.
But this is the thing that I look at in the situation. Okay, Kevin, you and Barry play the same position. Craig, you and Dylan play the same position. Y'all back each other up. So if I'm on the field or Craig is on the field and he's looking at Dylan, and Barry's on the field and he's looking at Kevin, one of us ain't supposed to be out here.
Yeah. No, I get it.
There ain't supposed to be 9 defensive tackles on the field, coach.
Players got to be accountable a little bit, but players also ain't making $3 million, $4 million a year.
No, but you got to win here in the ball game.
True.
What do you think? What do you think Kentucky was doing when they were checking for Mike? Mike 52. 48. 52, 48.
There's 4 of them out there.
Wonder if people were saying Mike's. Mike's.
Well, I'm sure we will discuss this more later on tonight. But let's be honest. Ray Davis, oh, my Lord. He ran through Florida. I mean, just with ease. I mean, he had 200 yards, in the second quarter? But enough on the Kentucky Wildcats for a little while here. We're going to throw it to the next slide. Who is in your Heisman house? What I want from you guys right here, I've got a couple surprise questions. But to start it off, I'm going to go with Coach Price first. Name your best Heisman Trophy winner of all time.
All right. Well, my best Heisman Trophy winner of all time, actually, I got 2 of them. And it was because it was the era that I was in football. And my 2 are Charles Woodson and Charlie Ward. And to me, Charles Woodson, because I'm a defensive back. That was my spot. And we're talking about an award where a defensive back shouldn't even be in the sentence. So to see him be the best player in college football and win that award playing the exact same position that I played, it just made me feel like, man, that's my guy. Not a Michigan fan, but that's my guy. And as far as Charlie Ward goes, who was not excited to watch Charlie Ward play football? And you're sitting here and everybody in America saying, man, I hope so-and-so drafts him. I hope so-and-so drafts him. Man, I hope we can get him for our football team. And Charlie Ward says, not only am I the best college football there is, and I win the Heisman this year, I'm going to go play basketball because that's what I do. Well, being a 3-sport letterman, basketball was one of my other sports. So to watch him come out of football and go into basketball was just like living a high school days all over again. When football season is over with, as a basketball player, you're practicing next week. So, to me, those two players being in the 90s or mine, because that was my little era when I was growing up and doing my thing. So give me Charlie Ward and Charles Woodson on the wall all day.
Hold on, Coach. Do you have a Heisman Trophy back there somewhere? Cause you do sound like you was bragging a little bit right then.
I can do that at times. I can do that.
Well, Coach Price does have a fancy little ring on one of his fingers from a 1990 perfect season with the Pepper Dragons, arguably one of the best teams of all time in Northwest Georgia.
And you know what I used to say on the PA every time I made a play? Prime time on the play. That's Jonathan Price for those who don't know.
Hey, I'm glad you brought up Charlie Ward, Coach. I'm glad you brought up Charlie Ward because I think, dude, he is one of the most slept-on college football players of all time just because he said, I'm going to play basketball. And I honestly might even turn on a Charlie Ward documentary tonight and just watch because he was unreal in anything he did. I agree with you there. Dylan Beck, who do you got?
Well, I'm going to be an extreme homer right here, and I'm going with the greatest running back to ever touch a football in Herschel Walker. And it's not even because of the year he won it. It's every year he was in college, he was around the award. Look at his the year he won it, he had 1,800 yards and 16 touchdowns, beat out John Elway. John Elway finished second that year. His sophomore year, or his freshman year, he came in third. The guy who won it was a running back who Herschel had the same amount of yards and more touchdowns and was an undefeated team. I think he got cheated, and then came in second in his sophomore year. And throughout those 3 years, he had 5,300 yards in the SEC all time. And he only did it in 3 seasons compared to everybody else who's had 4 or 5. So
on 42 carries a game.
You got to do what you got to do, baby.
Hey, wasn't no tours in 1980.
That's true.
Hey, and let's we forget to mention this. You are right. Freshman year they went undefeated, national champ, had the same amount of yards. Realistically, he could very well have 2. Just like Archie Griffin, but you're right. He is the first
one of 5 to be a finalist 3 times.
And if he played his senior year, he probably would have won it again. He's the first player to ever forego his senior year, and he started a whole bunch of madness for about 40 years. So Herschel changed the game. So I do agree. I wasn't going to mention Herschel because I can't be a homer. I knew you was going to pick him, but Barry, who you got on this? You got somebody?
No, I didn't really think about it. But if I had to say somebody, I would have to say, didn't Bo Jackson win it? And everybody says that Bo Jackson is the greatest athlete of all time.
Well, everybody, if you mean Auburn fans.
No, that's a lot of people say. Hey, I even heard Prime Time say.
No, I know. I'm kidding.
Both I know. But I heard him say it and said that, man, he said that he can even hit a curveball. You talk about Coach Price, talk about somebody that can play multiple sports. Bo Jackson was electric, man. And I'm telling you, still today, we know Jordan is just like, we still seeing that jump man everywhere. But every time you hear the name Bo or see that Nike, you have to think about Bo knows. Bo Jackson, I have to give it to Bo.
You can't argue with that. And I mean, and I do agree. You think Bo knows all the time you see a Nike check. And what's crazy is if you think about the 80s guys, think about all the running backs. And one that always gets forgotten is South Carolina's running back. His name was is it George Rogers, I believe.
George Rogers.
Unbelievable running back. And they had a bunch of showdowns with Herschel Walker. I mean, both the guys getting the ball 30 plus times a game. It's a run fest. But it's definitely a different game now. Kevin, who you got?
Well, we've talked about Bo. We've talked about Herschel. I'm going to go with the actual best running back to ever touch the ball, Barry Sanders. I mean, are we forgetting about Barry? 1988, 344 carries, 2,600 plus yards, 37 TDs. Then he went to the NFL and made the Hall of Fame in 10 seasons and then retired early.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, the best running back to ever touch football. None of y'all can argue it. It's just fact. I'm sorry. I wanted to say Derrick Henry because Derrick was another guy that had over 2,000 yards. But, I mean, 1988, Barry Sanders averaged 7.7 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
Lord.
That's my guy.
Hey, I listen. The reason I picked this question, I knew we would have some amazing answers because let's just be honest. To win this award, you got to be the best player in college football. So can you really go wrong? And it's kind of, we're comparing apples to apples at this point. But Barry Sanders, unreal highlight tape. And like you said, retired early. What would he, I mean, he probably would have rewrote the history books. He already did, but he would have been untouchable if he would have played 5 more years. But I'm sure his brain is definitely happy with his decision. Tony, who do you got to finish us off?
I'm gonna go with a guy that nobody was thinking of. The best Heisman player that I've seen. I was alive when it happened, but I didn't see the highlights or anything until I was older. I'm gonna go with Ricky Williams, 1998, University of Texas. Dude, he was unstoppable. The dude ran for 6,000 or 7,000 yards in his career, over 70 touchdowns, and averaged over 6 yards a carry.
But you can't count somebody who smoked weed. That's kind of like a cheat code, ain't it?
That's another reason to give him the award. I tell you what, I couldn't do it if I was high. Give him the award. He's out there smoking everybody. Pun intended.
He was actually floating.
Ricky Williams is I remember, especially when he was with the Dolphins, he was always one of my favorite players. Like, I just thought he was cool. I mean, he was so effective. And then his season or his career got cut short because of, the whole marijuana deal. And it's like, if he played in today's game, he probably would suit up every day. They probably would have never suspended him or anything. Yeah. So, my next 2 questions here. This is going to be fun for you guys.
We didn't get to hear what Craig said on that one.
Oh, Craig, sorry, the slide moved. Go ahead, Craig.
Look, Dalton's just got a little hate for Auburn. Look, we struggled last week, so
overlooking the Auburn guy.
Yeah. I said it is. I got to go, Bo Jackson, man. Like Barry said, he was the guy to go into 2 different sports like that. Some interesting stats on Bo. He had roughly the same yards as Herschel Walker, and I'm not taking anything away from Herschel Walker. He had it with about 150 less carries that year. He averaged about 1.5 yards more per carry than Herschel did. Nothing to take away from Herschel Walker because that dude was a monster. Just a side note, could you imagine Bo Jackson and Frank Thomas on the same baseball team? Good Lord. that must have been tough down there. But
a lot of testosterone.
Mine's Bo Jackson.
What kind of age difference was between Bo and Herschel?
Herschel's 2 years older.
Yeah, 2 years.
That's 2 years older. Was Herschel Walker? Let's talk about something really important. Was Herschel Walker even on Tecmo Bowl? Because I know that Bo Jackson
was on the original Tecmo Bowl.
Was it?
Like Bo was on the radio.
He wasn't on that like Bo though, because Bo was just you had to Bo into the rap.
God, y'all are old.
That's right.
Walter Payton too. Remember him?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my goat.
Marcus Allen.
Thought about the Tecmo Bowl when we were watching this Sunday, watching the Jags and the Falcons and their little animation thing. And man, y'all are some old heads when you talk about Tecmo Bowl. But you are right. Bo Jackson was truth on that game. I mean, he was unbeatable. But it was almost like a cheat code. But hey, the next questions here. This is gonna be fun for you guys. I want to know who is the greatest college football player of all time. And then on the next question, you could answer both of them at the same time if you'd like. Who has had the greatest single season in college football history? Coach Price.
Kevin already said it. To me, the greatest of all time is Barry Sanders. And I mean, very seldom do you see a player take exactly what they were doing to you in college and go do it to you in the pros. And there was nothing that Barry Sanders did in college that he literally didn't do when he got to the NFL. I mean, you got running backs now. You go to the league, they want to change the way you carry the ball. They want you to have it here. They want you to have it there. Well, Barry Sanders didn't play that game. He was just going crazy leg you the whole day and run right over you if you get in the way, spin right out of whatever tackle you're going to try and put on him, and then he's going to march right on downfield. So, Barry Sanders, to me, dude, that's just the best all around football player that I have ever seen actually play the game, because when you would see Barry Sanders or Oklahoma State highlights, it was only one guy. So you were just waiting on Sports Center to see the Barry Sanders show because it was only one guy. And as far as my all-time season, goes back to the guy that I chose in the first segment, and that's Charlie Ward. He won the Heisman, won a national championship, and then went to the NBA and became an all-star. So what else can you say about this guy other than the fact you went out with the perfect season in college? You went out with the most prestigious and perfect award in college just to go to an entire different sport. Not only is it an entire different sport, you got to think about it. You're playing college football, which means you're in an amateur sport, to graduate and go play a professional sport that you didn't play. So to me, Charlie Ward, that 1993 season, man, it was just something to see. You really just had to be in that era to understand what Charlie Ward was doing at Florida, because the guy was a passer. You may sit and say, well, okay, you got your Lamar Jacksons and everybody else when it comes to Charlie Ward and, your Vince Youngs. Charlie Ward could run on you, but dude, Charlie Ward was a passer. And I mean, he had a cannon on him. So, and he was very accurate. But just to have somebody like that go from one sport as an amateur to another sport as a professional, win a Heisman and win a national championship, dude, to me, that's just the perfect season you can ever ask for.
So I got a question for you, Coach. Did he not play basketball at Florida State? Is that what you're saying?
Well, he played, but he was not being sought after in basketball to the NBA the way he was in the NFL. He was projected as a first round pick in the NFL and didn't even go. So like I said, to me, Charlie Ward, dude, he's just that guy to me.
Wow.
But I'm also like 19 years old, watching him, 20 years old. So that was what, 30 something plus. Let me just stop.
Yeah, that sounds like about in the 1700s a little bit.
Watch out now.
Hey, I really will turn on a Charlie Ward documentary tonight after you say all this. Dylan, who you got?
Yeah, when we're talking about all these older dudes, we can't compete with the old heads in here, man, because y'all ain't seen it. We're looking at YouTube, highlights and stats. For greatest player ever, I'm sticking with Herschel, man. Played 3 years, went to the Natty all 3 years, was a Heisman finalist all 3 years. First ever guy to leave after 3 years. So I'm gonna keep that there. Greatest single season ever. I've got two. Now I'm gonna give my
Still both of mine.
I'm gonna give my pick. I know I'm still in one of them. I'm gonna give my pick to one of them, but I'm gonna say both. All right, number one, and who's my runner up is Derek Thomas. Is that not your guy?
It's not actually.
That was mine, you prick.
I'll keep it short and sweet and let you go in detail. Look, that was back before I looked at the stats. It's back before they kept the stat of sacks. So he's not technically the leader all time, but he had 27 in one season. That'll never happen again. That was insane. I'll let Angry Nick Saban finish on that one, but my guy is Cam Newton. I probably stole another one. Look, Cam Newton. We can talk about the stats. We can talk about 2,500 passing yards, 1,500 rushing yards, and 48 total touchdowns. If that doesn't say enough, you look at what he had around him. He had zero. He had no defense. He had no O-line. He had no nothing. And to come out with a natty that year, man, that's the most I've ever seen a team get carried by one player. To me, that's got to be the best.
Wasn't they 13-0?
13-0. And I think the next year 0-12 or the year after, something like that. Something crazy.
The Cam, because they called it the Cam effect.
Yep.
I'll piggyback on Dylan's also in a second.
So before I throw it to Kevin here, I wanted to give my I'm not going to say best single season because I think that could go a lot of different ways. But one that just sticks out in my head as a kid, 04 Texas. I think they lost 1 or 2 games that year. They won a big important bowl game. I think it was the Rose Bowl. And Vince Young had almost 2,000 yards passing that year. He decides to, I guess he had no choice at that point. Come back for the junior year. They go undefeated, beat arguably the greatest college football team of all time in USC that was looking for it was either a 2 or 3-peat at that time. Because I think they had like a co-national champion in like 02 or 01. I can't remember there. But this season for me, 05 Texas and Vince Young.
Yep. I
mean, he should have won the Heisman. I know he didn't, but he should have won it. He had 3,036 yards passing. And they stunned USC. And honestly, if USC wins that national championship, the future of USC probably looks a little bit different. I mean, they were untouchable before Texas stole that game late. But I don't know. And then, rushing. That same year, he had 1,000 yards rushing. So, I mean, to me, that's one of the greatest single seasons of all time. I know it's a little bit different than Cam Newton. He was only, really a starter for 1 year. But I don't know. Vince Young and me, 05, that'll stick out forever. We'll always remember that play, which is actually Keith Jackson's last game he ever called was that Rose Bowl. And Vince Young runs it in with seconds to go to upset one of the greatest teams of all time. That's who I got. But Kevin, what do you got?
Well, honestly, Dylan stole both my picks. That's and the points he made were the exact points I was going to make. So I'm going to give you 2 more. Bryce Young last year. That without Bryce Young, Alabama's a 8-win team last year, maybe 7-win team. He took the team on his back and he just won a ton of games for us. Real quick, the other guy that I've always been impressed with and kind of crappy how he was treated was Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush was amazing at Southern Cal. That cat could run. He was Christian McCaffrey before McCaffrey was himself. So I always loved Reggie Bush. I thought he got screwed out when he took the Heisman. And but yeah, that's the only other 2 that really come to mind.
Tony, who you got?
Well, like Kevin said, Dylan stole one of mine, and I'm gonna start with the Cam Newton thing real quick. On top of what Dylan said, the reason why Cam Newton's season was by far the greatest of all time, with the players around him, you know how many starts in NFL that entire team outside of him has?
It's like 2, isn't it?
One start between 20 players that on the field backups anybody. And I hate saying that because God knows how bad I hate staring at that orange shirt that Craig's wearing right now. But how do you argue that? If you go stats-wise, obviously Joe Burrow would have the greatest season of all time stats-wise. But I'm going to throw a curveball here, and I'm going to be a homer. The greatest season ever, even though we didn't win the national championship, is 2018 Tua Tagovailoa. If Tua played 1 fourth quarter the entire regular season. Now, he didn't even play the quarter. He played 2 plays in the fourth quarter, the whole first 12 regular season games, and threw for, 4,000 yards, 45 touchdowns, something like that. Imagine if he played just half those fourth quarters. He would have had better numbers than Burrow did that season for Burrow's greatest season. If Tua would have played the full season, because let's face it, Burrow didn't come out. That LSU rolled the dice, and they could have got him hurt. If Tua would have played the whole fourth quarter in the first 12 games, dude, he'd have threw for 5,500 yards, 65 to 70 touchdowns, and 7, 8 interceptions. Like I said, I know we didn't win the Natty, but Trevor Lawrence played unreal and Clemson came to play that week. But that's my greatest season stats-wise all time would have been Tua if he'd got to play more for the fourth quarters.
All right, Craig, I ain't going to leave you out again, I promise. Who you got right here?
Man, greatest single season, like, I hate to agree with Two-Turn on anything, but and Bill on that one, but it's got to be Cam. I mean, Auburn rushed for 4,000 yards that year, which beat every other team in the conference by 1,200 yards, and Cam Newton accounted for half of that. He almost rushed more than every team in the conference that year by himself. I mean, his stats are just ridiculous. He's Derrick Henry size and can throw the ball 70 yards. It's just an ugly combination. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, and everybody keeps talking about like how well these players kind of win in the pros and what kind of season they had and how good they translated. I'm gonna go with the guy I think about every time I think about college football is Tim Tebow. Yep. Nobody mentioned his name. That dude was a gamer.
Greatest college football player.
Yeah, he's right up there. How could he not be, right? I mean, he was one win away from getting 3 when he was down there. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about a teammate to have to be on, I would have played for that guy just like everybody else would. He was a solid man. I got to go. Tebow was the greatest of all time. Just strictly college football. I'm not talking about dual athlete. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm just talking about like results matter. And that dude would he would go to war with you. And I like that.
He's got one NFL playoff win.
He does.
He does. More than a lot of people.
A walk-off overtime.
That's right. You know, a lot of this is a whole argument with Tim Tebow every time it's brought up. His last start in the NFL was a divisional playoff game, and he won. And he was never given another shot. It's crazy to me.
You see that dude now? He looks like he can still take on a Volkswagen, man. He's caught diesel.
Dude, that guy looks like
his whole
a freaking
story is not only amazing, but at the same time, it's kind of disappointing. It's like he was given – I mean, some of these quarterbacks, let's be honest, in the NFL, they're given shot after shot. I mean, some of these guys been there 10-plus years, and this guy won a playoff game?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. It baffles me, and I truly think it's who he was. I think they were, some sort of a boycott against him. I don't know, but Jared Cole.
Real quick before Jared goes, I'll tell you what ruined Tim Tebow's career. It's 2 people, or an organization and a person. The Indianapolis Colts, because they cut Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning's the reason Tim Tebow's career ended. If he never gets released, he never goes to the Broncos, and I don't think the Broncos move on from Tim Tebow. I think they keep him.
I think what ruined his career is he was no good.
Come on, man.
Come on, Barry. I think he was pretty good. I mean,
in college, in the pros.
Like I said, his last career start was an NFL playoff game, and he won.
And didn't the Broncos go like 9-7 his only year?
Yeah,
he came in and they
won 6 straight to make the playoffs.
He took them to the playoffs. They were out of the playoffs when he came in, and he went like 7-2, got to the playoffs.
This is Tuesday, not Wednesday. This ain't church night, but y'all sound like y'all been to church. Because let me tell you right now, I watched him in the pros. He was terrible. He was terrible. Listen, who do you guys know really that has more confidence, more drive, more work ethic than Tim Tebow? He had all of those things. I give him that. I won't take it from him. If you got all of that, you're going to at least be in the league. We got people in the league that has half of his drive, half of his faith in anything. Dude, it's crazy. He was a great college player. He caught lightning in the bottle, man. But when he got to the pros, I'm sitting here looking at some things right here. Go back and look at how many Heisman Trophy winners were busts in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. But I can say that the Heisman House commercials, they got the Tim Tebow role perfect because that's really how he is.
Yeah. I agree. Hey, Jared Cole, you're the last one to go on this. Let me run the question by you real quick. Greatest Heisman of all time, greatest college football player of all time, and then the greatest single season of all time. Jared, it's like you got This is going to be
Sound like Mickey Mouse.
You're on helium.
This is great, but this will be a little blooper reel at the end. No, it's not going good. Try to unplug it and go again. Hey, that might be one of the funniest things that's ever happened on this show.
Give
That
me
guy
right back,
had
guys.
some sort of a filter on there and made that go out like that.
Like
I thought he was kidding. I thought that was like a prop or something.
And that was hilarious. I'm gonna wait till he comes back because I know he's got some fire on this. But one of the things that he's back. Jared, give us another shot.
Yeah.
Hey, all right, finally. Thank God. I don't know what was going on there. Anyway, I was going to say I'm late because when your pregnant wife wants to go to the Coosa Valley Fair, you go to the Coosa Valley Fair. Okay?
Period.
That's first. That's just first. No, great funnel cakes, by the way. Anyway, the greatest college is Timothy Tebow. No doubt about it. All that cat did was win every freaking game. It's like you lined up for. Man, everybody just watched the documentary not long ago. That cat was a dude. I mean, the guy came from looked like the Little House on the Prairie video. That's where he came from. He walked into Florida, which was like walking into Fulton County Jail. And he fit right in. And the dude balled, man. He balled. If you needed him to run for a touchdown, he'll run for it. You need him to have, an inch against Ole Miss. Yeah, I don't know. That was a tough one. The guy comes out after that game, gives one of the greatest speeches I've ever seen. Give it the 30 minutes for the rest of our life. My God, dude, it'll make your veins pop out, man. That cat was unbelievable. That is the greatest college football player of all time. And agreed, man. He might not have been the greatest pro quarterback we've ever seen. Hey, the cat did win a playoff game like we talked about. That's better than we can say about some of these other cats out here.
Andy Dalton never won a playoff game.
Dude, Colt McCoy is still in the league, and you're telling me Tim Tebow couldn't still play in the freaking league? Give me a break. Just get out of here. Now, the greatest single season. So there is a 1 and there is a 2. It's close, but there is obviously the Cam Newton season. That was it. I don't the run against LSU, the quote unquote the run. I mean, that cat. It didn't matter what he could have played for Boise State, Idaho Community College that year, and they would have beat Alabama in a national title or Georgia. He was that dude. Real quick, I know we're not giving it second place. My second place is Johnny freaking Football. That guy. That was unbelievable, man. That was the most fun. I've never seen a guy just run around with his head cut off.
Roll Tide. 09 SEC championship, baby.
And that Johnny Football. But hey, man, but that right there about Tim Tebow, man, that dude. See, and you can't say this a lot in the world today about anything. That dude cared more about Florida football than anybody. And that guy would have cut his freaking arm off if it meant he got a win. You talk about a guy you want on your team. You want a guy in your locker room. I mean, you want a guy that's changing your tire. It's Tim Tebow.
He cared about Bama football too, because thanks to Tim Tebow, big statement to Bama.
What's crazy about Johnny Football is he was hung over doing that.
Yes, bro. That guy was at a frat house Friday night at 11:30, and he was dropping dimes in Texas A&M at 2:30 the next day.
Dude, nobody's going to convince
Dude, come
me
on,
Johnny
man.
on coke. There's no way.
Oh, dude, no. Did you see the size of that guy? I was playing like he was like all the time, dude. He is, man. That was the most fun I've ever had watching football.
Look at that forehead.
So I do agree with you, Jared. I'm a definite Tim Tebow fan. He played high school football about 10 minutes from where I live currently. I actually go to the same church as Tim Tebow. So I'm a fan of
You
Tim
live at Little
Tebow.
House on the Prairie?
Hey, he went to Nice High School. And I've heard different stories, but I heard he didn't even live around here until he went to high school.
Yeah.
But
it's from
actually,
Alabama.
I think he was homeschooled, but like could play for their school. It's weird. I don't think you can do that anymore, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the state of Tennessee does that.
Go ahead, Jared.
No, I was saying I didn't know about this till the other day. my wife's sister. Now this is kind of a little side tip. My wife's sister lives in Tennessee, and you can do the equivalent of go to school, but you can play football at Pepperell.
Yeah.
I did not know that was ever a thing.
As long as you have
There's some
transportation,
wild rules.
as long as you have me being in high school, I can tell you this. Because it's school choice your first time, right? As long as you have provide proof of transportation to and from, you're allowed to go to that school. Once you move to another one, that's what makes you ineligible, unless you make a complete move.
So what's crazy about the state of Florida, and I'll move to the next slide here. In the state of Florida, you could lose the first round of the playoffs, and in week 2, if you can make it to school, you could transfer to the team that just beat you. There's multiple kids in Florida that will actually go play football at one school, and then at Christmas break, they'll transfer to their favorite baseball school and play baseball. It's lawlessness down here in Florida, and that's why you see us on the news for people just, Florida man kills another man, Florida man feeds another man to an alligator. I mean, some real tricky stuff going down here in Florida. There's something in the water, but it hadn't got me yet. Next slide, fellas. This is the first ever Heisman Power Rankings. I'm going to go through it real quick, and this is what the poll says. So the question for you guys is there something blaring in here that sticks out? Do you agree with the poll? What would you change about the poll? The question's kind of very broad, so answer it how you please. But number 1, the defending champion of the Heisman, Caleb Williams. Number 2, Michael Penix Jr. Number 3, Jaden Daniels. Number 4, Dylan Gabriel. Number 5, Audric Estime. And, hey, I want to hear it from you first, Coach. Who do you got?
Well, I would give it to Caleb Williams because it'd be nice to have a 2-time Heisman Trophy winner since who was the last one that done it? Archie Griffin. So it'd be nice to have that if we want to go on the historical end. But out of this list right here, Penix, he's to me probably the one that I would go for out of this list. But that's this list, because to me, the Heisman is about the best player in college football. And from 1990 to 99, there were 5 quarterbacks to win the Heisman. 3 running backs, a wide receiver, and a defensive back. Then when we go to 2000 to 2009, we had 8 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram. 2010 to 2019, we had all quarterbacks, 1 running back, and Derrick Henry. But when you talk about the greatest player in college football, it hadn't been done since Leon Hart in 1949 for Notre Dame. And the name that should be at the top of that list is Brock Bowers. A tight end hadn't won the Heisman Trophy since 1949 with Leon Hart, who played for Notre Dame, led them to a 10-0 season. So that tells you then that the tight end was the most important piece of that offense. They outscored their opponents 360 to 86. So with that being said, as much as I love Georgia and everything that Kirby is doing down there, we all seen it Saturday, wherever you want to put us in the polls. Without Brock Bowers, we would have lost that ball game.
Yep.
So, like I said, to me, give me number 2, but I prefer to have number 19.
Hey, can't argue with there right there, Coach. Brock Bowers won that football game for us. He's unreal. Dylan, who you got?
Like Coach said, man, this thing has turned into a quarterback award, and I don't see that change, and I wish it would, but I think whoever has the better team at the end of the year between Caleb and Michael Penix, I think that'll be the winner. I lean towards, I think Caleb's going to get his second. I think things are trending that way. And something to do with that list, I think I don't think the running back's going to have a shot. It's just not in the cards anymore unless you pull a Derrick Henry type year. But I think you got to add Quinn Ewers and Bo Nix to that. Bo Nix, I don't think is going to end the season up that high, but I think he deserves to be on there now. But Quinn Ewers, man, if they're an undefeated team, and this week will tell a lot about his chances to win the Heisman. But I think Quinn Ewers will have a shot at the end of the year.
All right, Kevin, who you got?
I think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the country. I think he's going to win it again. And I like Penix. I mean, he throws a pretty ball. I think when those two go head to head and USC beats Washington, I think that's going to be his Heisman moment again. But the guy that's not on the list that I honestly think could probably be number one and has a very good argument is Shedeur Sanders. I mean, that guy's got almost 3,800 yards already. He's played stupid above Colorado's level, and every game he's thrown over almost 400 yards a game. It's what he's doing with and I know Colorado's got a little talent. They brought in a bunch of transfers and they got 3 and 4 stars on their team, but still, it's Colorado. It's not. I mean, it's not the best talent in the world, and he is. I look for a Heisman winner. I look at a guy that elevates his team above the level that they should be, and I don't see anybody that's done that more than him.
Hold up, wait a minute. You're forgetting about one guy who is elevating everybody. I'm going to try to be unbiased right here. Jayden Daniels. Okay. Nobody. I told y'all from the beginning. I even had a little wage on this. A fresh, hot, off the ink ass tattoo by our very own Two Turn. I told y'all that Jayden Daniels is a straight up baller. And he is. And Kevin just said it. I do like Shedeur because Shedeur is doing so much more with less. Now, I know everybody wants to give the trophy to the sexy person, on the sexiest team and everything. But talk about doing more with less. Jayden Daniels is on the field all the time because our defense is terrible. They like a little tight division. And this dude is, I hate the fact, I really hate that he plays on LSU this year. His senior year, he has to come back and be a part of that mess. Jayden Daniels won't win the Heisman Trophy, but the dude is making a huge argument about himself. And listen, man, he goes to work, he does his job. You don't hear nothing about him. He just goes out there and he puts it all on the line. He slings it around. He runs around. And he should be about number 3. I'll say that he's about number 3. But if you just really did it based on who's doing more with less, I think you got to give my guy a look.
Yeah, to me, there's only one negative when you're talking about Jayden Daniels, and it's he does not slide. Dude, he gets
he should have elevated
every game
last week.
But other than that, man, he's a baller.
Yeah.
I agree, Barry. Jayden Daniels is one that I will disagree with the poll on. He has probably one of the worst defenses in all of college football, and he is balling. And I thought he was going to actually come back and steal that game. It didn't happen my way, but if that would have happened, that could have been a Heisman moment right there for him, and he could have been number 1 on this list. But Craig, I'm going to throw it to you next. Go ahead.
I'm going to go from kind of like what we're talking about right now at this point in the season, because obviously when USC plays Washington, we're going to answer a lot of questions, right? But as of right now, I still got Michael Penix, and the reason I do as of right now is Washington's strength of schedule is ranked 31st in the country. USC's 111th. Michael Penix still got numbers like that. He's played better defenses. Now, that might be fractionally better. I mean, we're just talking about stats, right? So it's hard to say that one way or the other. The guy that's not getting any credit on the deal, like Kevin said, is Shedeur. What he's doing with the talent he's got around him, it's a weird thing. I saw an article about Caleb when he said he's got five teams he'd go play for, or he's going to stay in college because he make more money staying in college. It's a different time right now, fellas. If these guys don't have the draft choice they want to go, they're going to hang around. We're going to see some senior quarterbacks rolling around that could have won.
I think that's going to be good for the sport.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you on that one. I totally do. But we're going to see some senior quarterbacks and hang around because they can make more money and get a better draft position and get a better go to the team that's going to be looking for Tua. How many concussions did he get before he finally got an offensive line down there? I mean, these guys don't want to go through a hamburger grinder for 3 years. But Joe Burrow, another case, Cincinnati. My God. I mean, that poor kid just got his head beat in.
More to your point, I mean, according to what a lot of people say is Shedeur Sanders can make more money staying in college his senior year than his rookie deal in the NFL. It's crazy.
Sure. Why would you do that? You pick your poison. You pick your spot. If you analyze a draft board, if you don't have a team that's got the first 2 or 3 drafts that's going to choose you that you want to go to, you just don't go.
Yeah, I'm not going to the Browns.
No, exactly. Why would you?
The Jets.
You got to also think about one more thing that's happening. Nobody's talking about it, so they'll hear it first on the chopping block. When we see Shedeur in prime time, this is daddy ball at the highest level. Yes, he can play, but don't make no mistake about it. This is daddy ball. Now, you have to also consider if Shedeur stays one last year, maybe Deion and Shedeur leaves at the same time to go to the pros. I don't think that Deion wants to coach as much as he says he wants to. I don't think he wants to coach without his kids. Deion is a daddy. Trust me, he is a daddy first, and I would not be surprised if some kind of way Deion and Shedeur leaves Colorado at the same time.
Look, man, it wouldn't bother me. It would not bother me a bit to see Deion go back to the pros because I was not a big believer in Deion being a coach this level. But I look at like if Auburn would have brought him in instead of Colorado. I mean, you see how he's recruiting at Colorado, right? If he goes to a place like Auburn, everybody else he's playing for second when it comes to recruits at this point.
Yeah,
if he goes somewhere if he goes to like Texas A&M.
Yeah, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, those guys are the 2 best, non-athlete recruiters in the sport. You got a guy like Deion, man. These players just gravitate to him, and I can't blame them.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. All right. Who has not went on this slide yet? Jared Cole. Go first, and I'll get you, Tony.
Michael Penix. I think I've been looking around today too. I think a lot of the sports sites have put him at first now, and we all know what this game is. The Heisman goes to the best player on the best team, for the most part. I mean, historically, that's about how it's went. You got to be a top 3 team. I think USC's got 2 losses on the schedule. I think they do, and now the Pac-12 is going to beat each other up. But I do think Michael Penix is the number 1 until proven me otherwise. Caleb's going to, like we've said before, his defense is come closer, cheeks. So it's those 2, and then there's everybody else. I agree with Dylan completely, man. Quinn Ewers and Bo Nix are right there at the bottom of it. And when it comes to 3 and 4, I don't really see Dylan Gabriel. I don't think Dylan Gabriel is the best quarterback on his team at the moment. I think Jackson Arnold is unbelievable, and we'll get to my Oklahoma pick here shortly. Anyway, but as far as the running backs go, there's nobody in the sniff the top 4. So it's Michael Penix and Caleb Williams until proven otherwise.
All right, Tony, what you got for me?
Sorry, I got kind of put to sleep by all this dizziness and Colorado stuff and Jaden Daniels, the ass tat stuff. I'm gonna address that real quick. That's out the door because the bet was him winning the Heisman and the Natty. For one, he ain't winning the Natty. He's been eliminated from that after that second loss. And they're going to have 2 more before the season's over, minimum.
How many y'all going to have?
Though he is talented, less than y'all, though he is talented, I do feel bad for him. He's very talented, but like Dylan said, he needs to slide. That's his only fault right now. But this is tough for me because I hate picking guys so early. I only agree with 2 guys on that list, anyways. Like obviously Caleb Williams, but I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be in New York, and that's the reason I say that is the Heisman people are going to make a decision here. Is it finally going to go back to the best player in college football, or like we said, is it going to be the best players on the best team? Because I'm with Jared. I don't think USC finishes top 2 in the Big 12. They are going to finish 3rd and possibly even 4th. Because like I said last week, watch out for Washington State. Their quarterback is a dog. And depending on how they do, he might have something to say for the Heisman. And I got a legit question because it might have happened last year. When's the last time the SEC didn't have a guy in the Heisman running? Like when it went to New York? Was it just – it's been a while if it wasn't just last year.
It wasn't.
Stetson Bennett was there last year.
It wasn't last
Stetson
year.
was there last year.
That's a joke. But anyways, so a guy with freaking 22 touchdowns at that point was going to the freaking Heisman. That's a joke. But
Who did he beat in the national championship game? Okay.
What do you mean? What's that got to do with the Heisman? Like he wasn't even close to being the best player on the team. Brock Bowers.
Well, I'm just saying it. I would hate to have a joke beat me in a national championship game, but okay.
No, I'm saying that it's a joke that he was at. I'm not saying he's a joke of a player. I defended him before half your fans. Half your fans wanted JT Daniels. I defended Stetson. I said he was the best chance to beat Bama. Ask Dylan because he was a big, JT Daniels is the only chance to beat Bama. That sucks. But anyway, I was saying he was a joke. He was in New York. He's in New York. He wasn't a Heisman caliber player. Period.
Damn, Dylan, I thought your camera fell.
Hey, Tony. The good news is Stetson Bennett got the AARP discount on airfare flying to New York.
Yeah.
47 years old.
He needs more than that.
There's not a single guy in the modern era who threw for 22 freaking passing touchdowns and got invited to New York. It's unreal. But like I was saying, so like I said, I hate picking so early, but I'm gonna go. Like I said, it's just crazy to me that a SEC guy is not gonna be in it at all this year. But I keep hearing a toy.
Really?
But I'm gonna go. Like I said, I think Penix is in it. He'll be in it there at the end. Drake May, if North Carolina can keep winning, he's got to be there, man. We talk about a guy winning with nothing. None of us can name a receiver on North Carolina or a running back. We can't name them. All we know is Drake May and Mac Brown. Nobody knows another player on that team unless you're a Tar Heel. Nobody. So that guy, he elevates that team. Without him, they're a 4 or 5 win team. So I think Drake May is going to end up being there if they continue winning. Like we said, Michael Penix. I think Quinn Ewers is going to be there. If they beat Oklahoma, they're not getting beat the rest of the year in the regular season, in my opinion. So Quinn Ewers is probably going to be there. But a sleeper, and I can't believe I'm even saying it, and I'm not saying the U is back. I'm never going to say that. But if Miami continues to win, Van Dyke's not doing bad. If they continue to win and they win the ACC, he might make it to New York just because of the record.
Okay, question. If Willie, chill out. If Sam Hartman balls out the rest of the season, balls out, does he go?
I also agree. I'm glad you said that because I think Sam Hartman should be number 1 right now. The dude's played out of his mind. It's not his fault they lost to Ohio State. He done his job. He got him the lead, and the defense improved. Sam Hartman threw 0 interceptions this year. Sam Hartman should be number 1 in my opinion, but those are the guys for me. Like I said, Caleb Williams is probably the best player in the country talent-wise. I just don't see him going back because I don't see them finishing top 2. I think they have 3 losses at the max, and 3 to 4 losses max, and that's just because I actually think the Pac-12 is pretty tough this year, and USC's got the worst defense of all of them. They couldn't stop my daughter.
They're going to get caught slipping.
My daughter could run a 4.6 40 right past them for an 80-yard touchdown right now at 3 years old.
Yep. Yeah. Cheeks.
Well, I'm going to throw up the next slide here, and next week our poll and our algorithm will be live for this top 6. But for this week, you get to choose your top 6. I want you to run down through it very quickly. That way we can go over this next slide because the next slide is very important for this weekend. But here we go. Top 6 in college football. Only the strong survives. I'm going to start with you, Coach Price.
Well, my top 6, I got number 1, Michigan. Take me out of that top slot. Let me get hungry like a rabid dog, and then I come get you. But give me Michigan number 1, Georgia 2. I like Texas at 3, Washington at 4, FSU at 5, and Oregon at 6.
I like that. Very unique for sure. Let's see if it stands up. Dylan, what do you got?
Actually, at number 1, I got Washington. I got Washington at 1, Michigan 2, Texas 3, Georgia 4, Ohio State 5, and Oregon 6.
All right. 2 people with Oregon in the top 6. I'll be honest, they've looked very impressive. Can't disagree there so far. Craig, what do you got?
Man, I got Texas number 1, Michigan number 2, Ohio State number 3, Georgia sliding back into number 4. I got Washington at 5, and Oregon number 6. I think Oregon deserves to be there. They're in the conversation, right?
Yep.
That's 3 for 3. Kevin, who you got?
My number 1 is still Georgia. I've always been a big believer in, the champ's got to be beaten before somebody can take that throne. I think Georgia's still the top dog, and somebody's going to have to prove they can beat them, before they, relinquish it. And Texas, I got number 2. I think Texas is probably the most talented, loaded team in the entire country. They got players everywhere. I think, they're my pick to win a national title. So Texas number 2. I got Michigan 3, Oregon 4, and I got Penn State 5, and Washington 6.
The Fighting Franklins.
Wow. Okay. So, did you have Oregon in that top 6? Tell me. I couldn't remember if you said Oregon or not.
Yeah, I got them at I think I said 6. I think Oregon.
6.
Yeah, 6.
That's 4 for 4. Who's left? Who wants to go first?
I'll go ahead.
All right, Tony, hit me.
So I'm with Kevin. I don't think Georgia's the number 1 team in the country right now. But like I said, you win a national championship, you don't drop until someone beats you. So Georgia's still my number 1 team in the country. Then I'm going Texas at 2, Washington at 3. Let's see. So Georgia, Texas, Washington. Oh, this is tough. I'm trying to think how I want to interchange these. Georgia, Texas, Washington. I'm going to have to put Ohio State at 4, even though I don't think it's because they beat Notre Dame. They got to be there. I think Oklahoma 5 right now, just because of their offense. I know their defense is cheeks, but it's the Red River rivalry. We're going to find out a lot about them. That pick could easily go to crap this weekend, but we're going to see. And I guess I might have to keep Oregon at 6. I don't want to keep them at 6. I honestly don't, just because I think Oregon's going to choke when they play another offense that's semi as powered as them, but we'll go with that.
Jared Cole.
All right, guys. I did some soul searching this weekend. I had church in my garage, and we thought about some things. We reevaluated and we reassessed expectations at my house this weekend. My number 1, and I'm gonna go with them too. And until you've been beaten, you stay at the top. Y'all know how I feel about that. Don't worry about that. My number 2 is Washington. 3, Texas. I will have Michigan at 4.
Yeah, I messed up right there. I'm putting Michigan in at 5 and Oklahoma at 6. That's my fault. Keep Oregon out. I forgot completely about Michigan. Michigan 5,
yeah.
Oklahoma 6, Oregon looking in for me.
Yeah, and then I've got rounding out those. I've got Oregon and freaking Homa is rounded in my 6.5 to 7. Yeah, there's just. Like I said, until you've been beat, I'll keep that. But Washington and then moving on. But yeah, the big one I think for me and Tony is Oklahoma rounding it out.
So before we move to the next slide and go over our Week 6 talking points, I wanted to kind of give my take on this as well. I agree with all y'all, and this is not being a homer. You're back-to-back national champions. You haven't been beaten in over 20-something games. Until you're beaten, you're at number 1 for me. So I got Georgia at number 1. Number 2 is definitely Texas. They have looked unbelievable all year. Big win on the road at Alabama. Number 3, I mean, it's hard to argue with Washington. They have probably looked flawless all year. And I think we'll see a real test coming up in a couple weeks. I understand that. But for right now, they're number 3. Number 4 is tough for me. Like, Michigan hasn't really played anybody worth even speaking about. So I'm going to put Ohio State in that one because they did have a win on the road at Notre Dame. Number 5 is probably the toughest one for me. Number 6, you can kind of just put, a lot of different teams in there. Number 5, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm actually going to say Notre Dame. I think even though they lost at at home versus Ohio State, I still think they're a top 5 football team. They should have won the game. Quarterback's playing out of his mind. And number 6 is Oregon for me. I'm going to keep them in that top 6. But to bring up the next slide, some big talking points in this week here.
Hold on one second. Hold on 1 second before you go to that slide. Because I seem to remember Jared Cole has a saying. What's the saying that you say? If you win, you what? If you win, you were supposed to win, right?
Oh yeah. If you win, you were supposed to win.
So I don't want to hear no more no jibber jabber about no Notre Dame. I don't want to hear that no more, guys. They lost. They were supposed to lose. Okay, give Ryan Day and my LSU Buckeyes some props. Okay, they deserve props because they won the game. And listen, one more thing before you go to that last slide. I don't want to hear no more of this talking about you stayed a champ because you won. That's BS. That's straight up BS. When you look at the games, when you look at the teams, who do you see winning the Natty? Who looks the best? And if any one of you guys right now can say Georgia, you need to go to the garage and have some church with Jared Cole because you knew it's not Georgia. Stop it.
But Barry, you also you don't look at things like this in September and the beginning of October to tell if a team's going to be. It don't matter how hot you are right now. It matters what you're doing at the end of November and the start of December. And we all know if Kirby's doing anything like he normally does, Georgia's done this before. Last year, they had that close. They should have. The win's supposed to win. No, they should have lost to Missouri, but they found a way to win. And then ever since that game, they were rolling. And honestly, that's what might happen this weekend, and I'll save that for later. But we'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have a final word on that. Yeah. I don't care what Kirby should have did and what he can do and all of that. I'm watching the same games that y'all watching.
Just saying.
Hey, y'all save.
Hey, there's a lot of national championship teams that did not look good the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season.
Okay, so what? I mean,
man, y'all are pushing Kevin to drink over here, man.
We're talking about what we see right now. We're not talking about what coulda or mighta and all of that. We're saying
I'm looking at what I think teams are going to be by watching like how they're going to continue to develop. That's why if you look at Georgia, they're getting better, even though they're not showing it. They're getting better, especially offensively. And I'm not a Carson Beck guy. Carson Beck showed a lot last game. I had to give him credit, even though Brock Bowers bailed him out on that catch, that one-handed catch. This dude had balls. He was throwing balls in the tight windows that most quarterbacks wouldn't even attempt to throw. Well, whether Bowers bailed him out or not, you got to think, what if he starts doing that on the regular? They finally got Lamb McConkey back.
What if LSU defense started playing?
They still got 2 losses. They're done. It don't matter. They're out. They're done. Bye-bye, Barry. They're done. They're eliminated from playoff contention. They is out.
Speaking of Brock Bowers, when is the hell is his eligibility up? He's been at Georgia for 38 years.
Bro,
he's a 52-time All-American.
I put that in the chat.
He's got
Kevin.
to go.
The guy gets – dude, Brock Bowers has got hair plugs. He's so old, man.
Oh.
Hey, listen, I'm going to defend Barry right here for a second. Because, TJ, I have to disagree with you. If LSU, they might not, probably won't.
Hold on.
But if they were to run the table and beat Georgia in the
Hold on.
SEC championship game, they're going to the playoffs.
Let's stop real quick, though. Barry just said we ain't talking about ifs. Look, they got 2 losses before October. They ain't going the rest of the damn year without another loss. They going to drop one to either Alabama, LSU. I mean, not LSU, Alabama, A&M. Hell, they might lose this weekend to Missouri, at Missouri. Watch that game. They might lose
still
again.
got to play Kentucky, too, right?
could,
Kentucky ain't no joke.
Yeah,
they
listen,
could, but the argument is saying they could win out.
I'm not the one sitting here saying that LSU gonna win anything else. I wouldn't bet a dime on them. I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't bet a dime on them. But I wouldn't bet no dime on Georgia winning the Natty this year either, from what I'm seeing. So I'm just saying, y'all like to go back and forth. Kevin got a new segment coming up soon, talking about unbiased. You guys are biased on what happened last year. What is happening right now? Something different.
Does Georgia have to win it?
Do they have to win?
Have to win what?
The Natty.
I mean, no, they don't have to win it.
Yeah,
no, they don't.
No.
Hey, I'm gonna save. I want y'all to bring all the heat for this next segment. It's gonna be a fun one. Week 6 talking points. Okay. There are some absolute games on this weekend. As you can see, the top left there, Georgia and Kentucky. The Red River rivalry is back. Undefeated teams for a first time in at least over 5 years, I would say. Maybe even longer than that. Maybe have to go all the way back to Colt McCoy days and Sam Bradford. But A&M, Alabama at Kyle Field, going to be a tough test for the Crimson Tide. Maryland and Ohio State. And I know people watching at home is probably thinking, Maryland, they are undefeated. Very, very good quarterback by the last name of Tagovailoa, and not the Tua kind. And then down at the bottom, undefeated Missouri and LSU. Be honest, at this game, at the beginning of the season, we thought that it'd be the opposite. Missouri would have 2 losses, LSU would be undefeated, but it's the exact opposite. What I want to know from you guys is pick one matchup. What is the most intriguing matchup of the week? What are you excited to see? And bring some heat.
JP.
Who? Oh, my bad. I didn't know he called on me. I was sitting here looking.
I didn't call on you. I was going to start at the top. Go ahead, JP.
Well, my matchup is going to be Georgia, Kentucky. I mean, after the game last week against Auburn, what we did in the fourth quarter is what a championship caliber team does. You find a way to win. It doesn't have to be pretty, but as a championship caliber team, you have to find a way to win. And that's what Georgia done. But what I'm looking at in this Georgia-Kentucky game is, did Georgia really just come out and play bad against Auburn? Or is Auburn a better football team than whatever everybody really give them credit for?
Hell no.
You know, you had to really watch the game, because the one thing I can sit here and say is we can go player for player with Auburn matched up against everybody else. But I'm on the coaching end of it, and I'm looking at some of the calls that Auburn made on Georgia. Those weren't player calls; those were coaching calls, and that crap worked.
Guys,
they ran the quarterback for what, a 60-something yard run, and everybody said that'll never happen on us again for the rest of the day. Kirby gonna shut that down as soon as you get him to the sidelines. What they do it 4 more times? So when were we gonna stop it? The bottom line is that coach knew when to call it. You know what I mean?
But look, man,
Tony and Barry didn't drive me to drinking. Having to go to Jordan Hare at the end of the year, I'm starting early because this is a tough place to play, man.
All know how that Iron Bowl is every year. At the end of the year, Auburn will be playing arguably their best, and I don't know what their best is this year. Auburn is terrible, guys. Their defense is really good. But as a team, they are terrible. We can't sit here and say, is Auburn really better than what we think when their offense is throwing for under 100 yards passing every damn game? If they had a quarterback.
But you just got through saying it. Teams are going to improve as the season goes on.
JP,
and to me, what I say Saturday is Auburn made an improvement. I didn't say Auburn was winning the SEC.
The only improvement they made is that they caused a turnover. But JP, so What improvement did they make? They scored 17 points, and they got 7 of them because Georgia gave them a gift. They fumbled on their own 30.
The improvement was Hugh Freeze playing chess while we were playing checkers on defense. He schemed us up so bad.
So bad. That's what I'm saying. It was coaching.
Yeah.
But so if Hugh Freeze takes that same attitude for the rest of the season and his players get better, does Auburn get better or do they stay the same?
Well, let me tell you this too. You know, Auburn. What did we learn about Auburn this weekend? I know what I seen several. We talk about dogs. You know, several Auburn players look like they want it, and they get after it every single play. They don't take plays off. They play hard. They've all bought in. It looks like, and I don't want to give too much away, but I think Auburn's going to surprise folks this year.
Hugh Freeze is a great coach. He's a great offensive mind, but that's what I'm saying. That's not the issue. When's the last time you heard? And it's not just Auburn. I hate Auburn. We get that, right? But there's not a single team in the country that you're going to tell me ever, if they're continuously throwing, it's been 5 weeks of not throwing over 100 yards passing. You're not going to win football games, and you can't get better offensively. Not do it. You can't just run it down everybody's throat. I get it. It worked against Georgia, but it didn't work against Texas A&M. Auburn they could not move the ball for anything against Texas A&M. So, I mean, we can say you can say, well, were they better? Auburn is going to finish 6th in the SEC West.
Don't matter.
Going to finish 7th. They're not going to get better. They might get better defensively, but Peyton Thorne is the worst quarterback in the SEC by far. If I was Auburn, Robbie Ashford actually has a higher ceiling than him. And last year, Robbie Ashford proved that he could throw a little bit. He's not consistent, but he actually threw pretty good against Alabama a few games. I would bench Peyton Thorne, and I would roll Robbie Ashford, especially like y'all said, with Hugh Freeze's schemes. You never know. They could get better then, in my opinion. But if you roll with Peyton Thorne the rest of the season, you're going to continuously get worse because your offense can't do anything unless you're running for 200 yards a game, and that's not going to happen regularly.
Peyton Thorne can't catch
with
the ball.
Anybody on that.
How many passes were dropped in the Georgia game? I know of 5 that were right there. I mean, he missed a long touchdown pass he should have made. There were 5 first down conversions dropped. He can't catch. I'm not saying I don't like the guy either. I'm with you. I think Ashford does have a higher ceiling. I think I watched him drop a dime piece on Alabama last year. I think the kid can pass. You know, I'm with you, but they're seeing something in practice that we're not privy to. I don't think Freeze is a dumbass.
Well,
I don't.
It's the same thing with Alabama. You know, it's which quarterback won the locker room. Dude, you seen when Alabama brought in their backups and Jalen didn't start, how the team performed around. It was terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. So obviously Peyton Thorne's done some things that we don't know about that's won that team, and they trust him.
But and this conversation would be totally different if they would have won that game against Georgia, which they played a great game. We all thought Georgia was going to. Hold on.
I'm with you. I got a question with you though.
But here's the thing right here. What I don't understand. We just had a segment where you put Georgia as the number 1 in the power rankings, and Auburn almost put the foot in them. You gotta at least honor what they put on the field. See, you got a crystal ball that you want to bring out when it fits your narrative. But what about these crystal balls in our head that we saw what happened on the field?
But
Auburn played a great game, and nobody on here can predict what's going to happen in these games.
But I'm not using crystal ball though.
No.
My basis is going off what we've seen, like in football. You've seen every single year. This is a thing with a team like Georgia and with coaches like that. But when I'm sitting there with Auburn, you see Georgia's offense is improving every week. They're getting players back consistently. They got their leading receiver back now. The only thing that Georgia's going to continue to struggle with is the run game because their running backs are terrible outside of Edwards, and he's not great. But they got the weapons to throw to, and Carson Beck's getting more confident. You're not seeing anything positive from Auburn's quarterback. Peyton Thorne is a turnover machine. And like I said, I agree with Craig. He did have some drop passes, but how many times did you see a receiver run more than an 8-yard route against Georgia? One time they took one shot, I think.
What's going to happen?
They're doing that for a reason. I'm not trying to predict. I'm not sitting there predicting that, Georgia's going to win the Natty. All I was saying is that if you're the national championship, if you're the 2-time defending national champion, even just one, I just don't believe in moving somebody until they get beat. If you're the defending champ, it's the saying, you got to beat the champ to be the champ. I've always thought that.
Well,
Let me say
Auburn,
something real quick, guys.
Go ahead.
So this is the question.
Here's the thing that I have a problem with, and then I'm gonna move the next person to go over their intriguing matchup because I feel like this segment's gonna get hot. It already is a little hot. But TJ, let's be honest. You use the word garbage, trash, like it's a little too heavy for me. You can't sit there and say that Auburn is garbage or trash when they just went up against the number one team in the country and played well. And let's say they only have 100 yards passing, whatever. They have lost 2 games this year. 2 games. One to the number one team in the nation.
And they got smacked by A&M with a backup quarterback.
They lost on the road at Kyle Field. Yeah, they lost.
You'd like to find out about that backup quarterback this weekend, Bubba.
I agree, Max Johnson's good. I told Barry he's good. But let me tell you something. Max Johnson won't be the reason Texas A&M beats us if we lose. I'll get to that when we get to me. But no, look, Barry, tell me I'm wrong. If Georgia would have lost that game, we wouldn't have been hearing this bull crap that, Auburn played a great game. It would have been Georgia played a terrible game. Georgia fumbled the ball and gave them a touchdown. We wouldn't have heard this shit talking about, credits to Auburn. Man, I've been watching my whole life. I've watched all my whole life. I've never seen Georgia lose a game and their fans go, we got beat fair and square. I've never heard
That's the problem. That's the problem. You're listening to Georgia fans who don't know football on Facebook.
Okay, well, that's 90% of your fan
base. I don't care about them. You need to talk to people who know football. The reason Georgia almost lost, the reason Auburn almost won that game, they whipped our ass up front, and Hugh Freeze schemed us up.
I agree, but we're going with narratives. The narrative from your fan base would have been that Auburn didn't play great, Georgia played bad, and you can't convince me otherwise.
But can I just answer the damn question? Because it seemed like I said Auburn and Tony turned into a tornado, F5 at that, and just wiped us all off the board.
Go ahead. I didn't hear the word that getting pissed off.
What I was trying to say is we played against Auburn. It's the Kentucky-Georgia game this week. I'm wanting to see this game because, for one, we got 2 teams that are undefeated. There's only 3 teams in the SEC that's undefeated, and they're all in the SEC East. That was garbage. Remember that preview show, Tony? SEC is garbage. Only 3 teams left. But anyway, don't say a word. But
continue. I got a chance.
But the reason why I said the Auburn game is because did Auburn come out and show that they gotten better and they gave us a real challenge, or was Georgia just sleeping and we come out different against Kentucky? So the Georgia-Kentucky game to me is the one that intrigues me the most because, for one, if Auburn has gotten better, then Kentucky really has a chance. But if we just went out there and almost gave it to Auburn, we're going to blow Kentucky out of the water.
That's not necessarily true, Coach, because it's about matchups. At the end of the day, these are kids. You don't know a lot of times what's going to happen on that field. You can't say because this happened in this game, this should happen in this game. They're not connected. They're not connected. That sounds good. That sounds good, but that's not connected.
Not saying that it should happen, but you can tell from week to week, did you play a good game that week or did you play a bad game that week, depending on the performance that you put on the very next week. Because I don't care what nobody say. If Georgia is clicking on all cylinders like we should be clicking on all cylinders, Kentucky don't have a chance, period. We gave up all kind of rush yards against Auburn, who exposed us on that. But I can sit here and tell you that a Georgia defense and what Kentucky's running back did last week, that ain't happening if we're clicking on all cylinders on defense. So did Auburn come out and do something that shows that they gotten better and shows something that we are a little bit weaker in, or did we just play a bad game and we come out and proved when we play Kentucky that, no, we're still where we're supposed to be? So Georgia, Kentucky for me, Dalton.
All right, Tony, I'm going to let you follow up on Coach there, and then I'm going to throw it to Kevin.
I'm going to go quick just off of JP with Georgia, Kentucky. This is what I was saying when I said I'll wait a second. I think this is a drop nuts on somebody game for Georgia. I mean, because like I said, this is one of those games where, they always overhype Kentucky coming in because they like I said, they're undefeated right now. And Bob Stoops, like we said it last week, he can beat anybody but Georgia for some reason. He has a good half against Georgia every year, first half. And then Georgia comes out and completely rapes them in the second half every time.
No, I can tell you why.
The thing is, if Kentucky can run the ball like they did last week, yes, I think they'll have some success. But we got to talk about the quarterback, guys. I don't think Georgia's defense is elite this year. I think it's always going to be athletic and fast. I don't think they're an elite defense like we're used to seeing from Kirby. But look at the quarterback for Kentucky, man. Once again, turnover machine. I think that he's what's going to lose Kentucky the game on top of it. They might even start a good run game, but he's due for 2 or 3 interceptions and probably a pick 6. So I think that's the difference in the game. But my game of the week, I got to be a homer on this one. It's A&M Alabama, man, because this game is huge for Alabama's entire season. Most of our tough games this year are at home. This is the only legitimately tough game outside of Auburn that's an away game this year. So this right here, if we win this game, I'm banking on Alabama to win the West if we can come out with this game. Because A&M is playing right now like the team that I originally thought they were going to be. I thought A&M was going to finish second in the West anyway because of their receivers. I don't think Max Johnson's a bad quarterback if he has time to throw. But if anyone watched that Arkansas game this weekend, it was a whole lot closer than the score showed, man. It was Auburn was down 4 points after causing Max Johnson's second turnover. He threw a terrible interception, and he fumbled. And then A&M got a hand up, one of them big old D linemen. He got a big old paw up, tipped it, pick 6. Next possession, Arkansas punting. They had a special teams touchdown. Game was over then. But up to that point, A&M wasn't super impressive against a bad defense. But A&M's defense was pretty impressive. I was looking at A&M's got 20-something sacks so far. So they're averaging 4 or 5 sacks a game. Alabama's line has struggled all year. The past 2 weeks, they've trended upward a little bit. But that's a huge thing this week. What's Alabama going to do against this big front? What are we going to do against Walter Nolan? A&M's secondary is vulnerable. They give up the long ball a lot. They give up stuff over the middle. So if we can get a run game, Milroe can hit the deep ball. But what I don't understand with Alabama, and this is a key to the game, I went back and watched the game from last year. I was there, but I didn't get to watch it on TV. I don't know if it's a Tommy Rees thing or what. And, Kevin, you here with me. We have not thrown many design passes over the middle this year. I don't understand with a guy who struggles to read defense, for one, why we're trying to make a guy make NFL throws to the sideline every game. You're making a 10-yard route, a 30 to 40-yard throw, because you're throwing from the right hash all the way to the left sideline. And he's not reading it. He's just throwing it, and it's right to the defender. That's what happened against Texas. That's what happened against Ole Miss. Against A&M, last year, his first start ever, he had success throwing the ball over the middle, was hitting receivers in stride, threw a couple touchdowns. But the only reason A&M was in the game, we had 4 turnovers. Milroe had 3 of them. He fumbled twice and threw an interception, and Jason McClellan had a fumble. And A&M scored off of 3 out of those 4 turnovers. They didn't score. I looked at the stats. Wegman was 100% passing. It was Haynes King last year, not Wegman. He was 100% passing last year against Alabama. Pass attempts, yards, touchdowns, 100% off of turnovers. That's what kept them in the game last year. And that's another thing that's going to happen. I don't remember many games where Alabama's lost the turnover margin and won. When we lose turnover margin, we usually lose. But that's what's the thing. We're going on a hostile environment, the loudest place in the SEC, 110,000 plus fans. We struggling with the snap all year. Alabama's got to win this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We win this game, like I said, I'm banking on Bama to win the West. But if we lose this game, we're still in it. But SEC's West, the West is wide open at that point because LSU still only got 1 SEC loss. A&M will have 1 loss. We'll have 1 loss. And Ole Miss will have 1 loss. So you got 4 teams with 1 loss in SEC West and still all have to play each other.
And Auburn.
TJ, are you in the car?
Yeah.
Okay, I was confused.
Sorry, buddy. Brody had a doubleheader in flag football.
Yeah, so. TJ's having a tough time on the road right now, like Alabama will be.
Hey, JD. I said it looks like TJ's going to heaven right there. He's got the light perfectly over his head. It's rising. I was like, man.
I do give up.
That sounds like an RG. That sounds like an RG3 commentary.
Oh, that's horrible.
Oh, listen.
Exactly.
We ain't bringing that horrible statement by RG3. In my opinion, he should be fired. But that's all I'm going to say about
it.
What he said was the most disrespectful. And I'll go ahead and put it out there for you, Barry. If it was about another religion or maybe race, he would be fired. But it's the easy target, the Christians, and what he said was terrible. It was terrible.
But you know what, though? Real quick,
I don't agree with it.
RG3 is a big Christian.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He must why would you say that?
It was just like any one of us that, except he was just on TV. He just said the first thing
right. He was on the spotlight, but
and that's all that happened.
Let's be honest, Barry. I am the voice of Continental Championship Wrestling, and I have never said something that outlandish, and I call professional wrestling. So I'll say this. I agree with what you say. He is on TV. It's a bigger spotlight, but I did not like the comment, and I thought it was horrible. Yeah. It was out of touch for sure. But KD, who do you got? Most intriguing matchup?
Yo, you done cut me off. I ain't get to finish.
What you mean finish, boy? You
finish? We are you it was like a little mini documentary.
I didn't finish. All I was gonna say was I do like Alabama in the game because I do think our defense is gonna cause a few turnovers, and I think our defense is gonna propel us to the win. That's all I was gonna say. But I am worried. This is the second. I told y'all at the beginning of the year I was worried about.
Oh, I thought that was it.
And Texas A&M.
KD, go ahead.
Hey man, I saw some good points. I'm not going to buy into the Georgia-Kentucky game being a big game. I love Mark Stoops. Always have. I think he's a great coach. But the reason Mark Stoops gets slapped around by Kirby Smart is because he tries to out Kirby Smart. I mean, he's just they run basically the same offense, same defense, and he's doing it with Kentucky players while Georgia's doing it with Georgia players. But I agree. It's the Alabama-Texas A&M game. It's got SEC West implications. We get to see, and it's going to determine Alabama's trajectory of the rest of the season. We win this game, we probably won't lose another one. If we don't, we're out of the race just like LSU is, So it's Alabama, Texas A&M, and but all these games, I can't wait to watch them all.
Craig, I know you got to have something different. There's no way in a freezing hell that you would talk about Alabama. Let me hear what you got.
We'll talk about Alabama, but it ain't going to be kind.
Yeah.
The things I learned last weekend, I learned a lot of stuff. First of all, I learned Tony keeps calling the Alabama A&M or the A&M Auburn game an ass whipping. It was only like 3 points at halftime. It got a little out of hand in the second half when
there's 60 minutes.
It was a closer game. So I think Auburn did well against Georgia. That's one of the few games I've ever watched where the offensive or where the line was owned by one team and they lost because Georgia got their ass beat up front.
Yep.
I like to watch those kind of plays. I'm a lineman, so that's what I watch. Everybody's watching the football. I'm watching what's going on with the big uglies up there. Those big uglies for Auburn move some men out of the way. I think Auburn's some skill players away, but the things I learned with the Texas A&M loss, I think Auburn's better than what we expected, right? I think anybody could say that other than Tony. I think Auburn's better than we expected, which means Texas A&M is a little better than we expected. And maybe that was a little bit of a fluky loss. I think the Bobby Petrino experiment might be working out a little bit. We're going to find out this weekend. So that's my game is going to be A&M in Alabama. Going on the road to hear some cowbells versus going to Kyle Field are two different things entirely.
Yep.
So I think Milroe's going to struggle. I think he's good for a couple turnovers on the road. I think A&M's defense is opportunistic. I think that's one of them games that if Bama gets down or if it's a close game, that they've been known to kind of lay down a little bit. I don't know how many dogs are on that Bama team yet. I still haven't seen somebody just come out and take over.
Craig, I agree with you. And one thing I wanted to say that I guess nobody's really thinking about is think about this. You go on the road to Mississippi State last week. You're going to get that's a night game. You get home early Sunday morning. You sleep all day. You're back at practice on Monday. You're leaving Friday to go to Texas. All right. It's not the easiest turnaround for a week for these college athletes. They still got to go to school. I think that's going to play a big part. And for anybody to say that's not a big deal, that is a big deal. I mean, you're traveling hundreds of miles, and it's really a short week, it seems like, because of what happened last week in the late game. But Dylan, what you got?
Yeah, I was going to go with the battle for the East, but JP handled that. Look, this is a big week. We got the winner of the East is going to be decided more than likely. The leader of the West will be decided. You're going to have the battle of who's the real Tigers with LSU and Missouri, and then you're going to have a battle to who's going to win the Big 12. So I'll just go different. I'll go who's going to win the Big 12, and yes, sir. This is a massive game because this is your clear. It's them two, and then the other 10. That's what it is, or other 12, however many they have now. But this game is going to decide, if you got a chance to make the playoffs or not. Because that conference, I think the loser of this game is eliminated because I think you need to win that conference to get in. And so yeah, man, this is a season, determining game for one of these teams.
Dylan, before I throw it to Jared Cole, let's say the winner is Texas. Who do they more than likely face in the Big 12 championship?
Well, they don't do sides, do they?
No, it's just one big. Yeah, that'd be Oklahoma again.
So would it be a rematch? Yeah.
Yep.
So that could get real interesting.
It sure could. That's what I wanted to bring up. I think that it could cause some question marks at the end of the season show. Yep. Jared Cole, what you got?
I'm riding on the Dylan Beck train here. Two of the biggest games are happening outside of the SEC this weekend. Absolutely, Alabama and Texas A&M is a massive game. Georgia, Kentucky, massive game. I think both of those games will take care of themselves. Well, we'll start out with, like we just said, the Red River Shootout. Dylan Gabriel's got over 1,600 yards right at it, and he only plays in half the games. Hell, he might have 1,000 yards himself. Oklahoma comes out and they start fast. Their defense might not be great, but they're not scared of nothing, man. They come out, they start quick, they get the ball out quick, and they will run and gun you to freaking death. Now, Texas is not known as a very fast starting team. They don't really come out and blow you out of the gate first quarter. So what's to say they don't go down 17-0 in the first quarter, 14-0 in the first quarter? Now they have to fight and claw their way back. And Brett Venables has got a lot to prove here. This could be his statement game. Same thing with Sark. If Sark and Quinn Ewers can go out and have a good game again, that just solidifies them in the Big 12. And like we said, they could have a rematch. Now, the other big game, Maryland, Ohio State. Maryland is not a slouch team. Maryland is not a slouch. I don't know if y'all watched them. I don't know if y'all seen Tua's little brother. 2 years ago, I thought Tua's little brother
and a half.
Oh, I'm telling you. I thought Tua's little brother 2 years ago was horrible. Horrible. This kid this year is balling. They play really good football, really sound football. And like I said, same thing that goes for Ohio State right now, Georgia right now, maybe some teams that haven't come out and really wowed you at all. I know Ohio State beat Notre Dame. But these other teams, like these Marylands, this Oklahoma, man, these teams start quick, man, and they will put the foot on the gas quick, man. And can you come out? Can you stomp that out? Can you go out there and say, hey, across the board, my 5 stars are better than your 4 stars. You're better than your 3 stars. And let that kind of be the edge in the game. Those 2 games are going to be barn burners. And the other big deal, noon or 3:30. I know Georgia and Kentucky play at 7, but all the other games, man, you better get your ass up in the morning, man, because this shit's coming flying off the handle coming about noon. Boy, if you got to go to the grocery store, man, get there at 7:30, man, because come noon, you ain't leaving the couch.
Hey, man, listen, let me add on to that real quick. That's the best Tua brother better than he is.
Stop it.
And I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what nobody says. Y'all can say what you want to say. See, here's the problem. Here's the problem.
I love you, Barry. That may be the most ridiculous thing you've ever said in your life.
Jared just said 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever. Tua brother, I hope one day we get to see him with the teams that Tua has had.
Well, are we ever going to see him play the same teams Tua played in the SEC?
Well, but no, we're not. But at the same time, this is what I'm saying. We're not. But I'm gonna tell you one thing right now: the kid is a bona fide baller, and I guarantee he's more durable. But listen, all I'm trying to say to you is right now that he's not getting the type of love and respect. I'm glad Jared said this game, because if I think Ohio State will win this game because I think they're a better team. I think Ohio State is the real deal. But this is going to be a money game. This is a money game for Tua's brother. How do you say his name? Anyway, they call him Leah.
Leah.
Leah. If that dude comes out, if he comes out and he beats Ohio State, dude, the whole world is going to come a little. It's going to turn. I'm telling you, it's going to be lit, man. That kid, he plays with the energy and the enthusiasm of Tim Tebow. How y'all say Tim play and how he go out there and lays it out to his brother, Leah. He is that guy. So listen, I want to see that game right there. I don't want Ohio State to lose because I'm on Ryan Day this year. But watch what I tell you. If he comes out and he wins that game and he keeps rolling, that dude's going to make a name for himself in the NFL draft. And I hope, I'm telling y'all, when he gets to the league and he gets on a good team, when the scales are balanced, watch what he does.
Hey, Skip Bayless, let me answer a question for you real quick. You said, I hope that I get to see Talia on some of the teams like Tua had. Let me tell you, Talia had a chance to do that, but you know what happened? He got scared of Bryce Young and left.
That's a fact.
He could have played on a team like Tua had. Secondly, before this year and last year, the Dolphins were terrible. They were 1-7, and Tua came in fresh off an injury and won 7 straight games.
Tony,
eight
you know
straight
good
games.
and well, look, the
Only time
Dolphins
that's
would be
ever happened.
0-7 right now without Tyreek Hill. He's the god of football.
Hey,
you can put him on the Saints, and the Saints are going undefeated, baby.
Dalton, you better
here's the thing.
Hey, join us on the NFL show.
That's what I was about to say. We can all mention this tomorrow night, but I'm going to throw out one more slide here. I'm going to start with Coach Price. Coach Price, when you get done with your pick'ems, I want you to throw it to the next guy, and you throw it to the next guy after that. Here we go. Week 6 pick'em. It's time, fellas. Coach Price, start at the top, work your way down, and throw it to the next guy.
Well, I like the conversation y'all just had about Maryland and Ohio State. And honestly, I think Maryland could upset Ohio State, but they won't do it. So I'm going to go Ohio State. Texas go Oklahoma. Man, what a matchup this is going to be. But honestly, I think it's going to be who's got the better defense, which I believe is going to be Texas. So give me Texas, even though they got to go to Oklahoma. Kentucky, Georgia, you can call me Homer Simpson, Homer Homebuddy. I don't care what you want to call me. I'm going with the Georgia Bulldogs. There's no way I'm going to let Kentucky in that little bluegrass state beat me on anything other than a horse race when I go to the Derby. When it comes to A&M and Alabama, I really don't think Jimbo has gotten everything together in A&M the way he should. I think he's still scrambling, trying to find it. And the ball game that he played against Arkansas last week, he tried to give it up. And I can tell you, you try to give Nick Saban anything, and he's going to take it from you. So give me Alabama over Texas A&M. And as far as the battle of these Tigers down here, I don't really care for Missouri whatsoever. And I think LSU has really lost its edge, and it's starting to make me feel like, was last year just a fluke?
Yes.
When Brian Kelly came in and we thought LSU was really going to do something, because even though Alabama started out in the top 5 and they dropped to 11, that's just the way they do you in rankings with all the other teams around them. But boy, LSU, y'all have went from 5 to almost out of the top 25.
They should be out.
Yeah, really.
Watch your mouth.
And so I don't think that LSU, regardless of what Jaden Daniels can do for that team, I don't think they'll be able to walk into a hostile environment like Missouri and come out with that win. So since I got a standing ovation from my best man down here, Jared Cole, you take it away, buddy. Who you got?
Dang.
Hey, let's go. Hey, this first game is also my freaking busty bet of the week. They got this Ohio State -20. Bro, no shot. Ohio State wins this game. Maryland, if you don't cover, they cover the 20. Don't worry about that. Can y'all put that list back up, or let's go again? Texas, Oklahoma. Oklahoma, give me Oklahoma in this game. I think they come out and start fast. I think they start. I think they start fast. They throw for 1,000,000 yards. Texas is the better team in this matchup, but Oklahoma is going to come out and they're going to start so fast. I think Texas is going to have a lot of trouble in the second half of this game trying to find quick points as many times as Oklahoma can. It could be an LSU Ole Miss situation. Man, there's going to be a lot of points scored. Now, Texas has got a great defense. Granted, I understand that. But I just do think that this is going to be one of those games. We watched this game a few years ago when Caleb Williams came in as a freshman and just absolutely went nuts. This is not your same mama's Texas team, but Oklahoma starts out quick. Georgia, Kentucky. I'm gonna have faith, man. Like I said, I had a come to Jesus meeting in my garage, man. You should have seen it. You should have seen it, man. There was marble glass windows, the whole thing. Anyway, I think Georgia comes out and they put together business. What I think Kentucky does differently than Auburn, which, by the way, Hugh Freeze deserves the utmost credit for this. He schemed up that run game. Ray Davis is going to run right at you, and I think that's what Georgia wants them to have. If you're going to run, schemed it up perfectly on the edges, and it gave Georgia fits all freaking day. Kentucky's going to try to run right at us, and I think Devin Leary's going to have some turnovers. Alabama, A&M. I agree completely with Coach on this one. I just don't think this is a game Alabama loses, man. I just don't. I think A&M's got a way better team this year. I think Petrino's scheme is working. I just don't think they can put it together. I think Alabama's built for a game like this. I think this is where the DBs come out and shine. Dallas Turner, he has to play well. And then LSU, Missouri. Give me LSU. I don't think Missouri can score with this. They really can't. Unless their thick kicker comes out and hits another 61-yarder. I mean, that kid is big, boy. If he comes out and hits another 61-yarder, God bless him. But I don't think Missouri will ever have the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to win this ball game. Let's throw it up to another dog. Give me Dylan back.
All right. I'm with Jared on Maryland. I do think they covered that spread, but I think Ohio State wins the game. I have a feeling that this is going to be a shootout, so I really do think Marvin Harrison is going to have like an over 200-yard game. I really think he's going to go off. Texas and Oklahoma, man, this one's too close to call. To me, I just got to go with the better quarterback and the better overall talented team, and that's Texas. Kentucky, Georgia. Jared hit on it. The way that Hugh Freeze schemed us up, man, he was running triple option out of shotgun, and he was running the veer. The only people that are running that are high schools and Hugh Freeze. And we're not going to see that again. They're going to be running more power and zone at Georgia, and that's what we're built to stop. So I think Georgia comes out and covers the spread on that one. Texas A&M, Alabama. The only reason A&M has a chance in this game is because it's at A&M. I think Alabama's defense, they're finding their rhythm, and they're really getting physical, led by Malachi Moore. That is the doggiest of dogs on that team. Dude,
it's a dude.
Start for any team like he's one of one when it comes to mentality. I think Milroe is going to turn the ball over just because A&M's front is so big, and they have about 30 stars combined on their starters. But I also think that Alabama's defense is going to force turnovers. So I'm going to go with the team with the better kicker, and that's the kicker who's hit about 24 in a row in Will Riker. And I think Alabama wins by a field goal late. And then
everybody that Alabama's got a great kicker. It's so funny as a Bama fan to hear that.
Different times.
I almost fell out of my chair when I heard that.
And then Battle of the Tigers, man. Georgia fans know Missouri is a tough place to go in and play. There's something on that turf. It's slippery. They don't want you to win there. It's tough. But I think Jaden Daniels just throws for too much, and they win that game.
Thank you, Dylan. You made me. You just make me feel so good.
Hey, Craig, what you got?
I got Ohio State covering. Everybody's talking about Maryland, how great they are.
Woo.
Now, I'm with Barry on this one. I think Ohio State's for real. I think to go to Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame in front of touchdown Jesus. Yeah, I got to give you the benefit of the doubt after that. Texas, Oklahoma, over under in this game is like 60, 61 or something. That's going to be a shootout. And I'm with, I think Texas has more talent. It might come down to one defensive stop. That's all it's going to take is one.
Yep.
I give it to Texas. Kentucky, Georgia. This one intrigues me a little bit, but at the end of the day, Kentucky's going to Kentucky. And that's what they do against Georgia. They like to poo-poo in them pants in the bed against Georgia. So I got Georgia in that one. This is kind of my super dog here. I already called it before. I think Milroe's gonna poop his trousers when he gets to Kyle Field here. I think Petrino. I think Jimbo Fisher's got Petrino riding around his motorcycle with his secretary on the back, drinking some cocktails.
Attaboy.
They're looking a little better. I think Alabama's offense or Alabama's defense got a couple dogs on there. I'm not sold on the backside of that D yet. I mean, you got 5 stars all up front, right? I'm not sold on the backfield yet. They're going to get a test because, like I said before, I got to watch it firsthand. That backup quarterback for Texas A&M's got a little bit of dog in him. So
I told everybody, Max Johnson's not bad. He's never been, never has been.
Oh Lord.
I like A&M in that game. As far as LSU and Mizzou, this was a close one, man. But I'm with you. I got to go with the talented quarterback. I think it might be a shootout too because I don't know what the hell happened to SEC in defense. We forgot how to play defense in this conference, I guess. So I got LSU in a close one.
Tony, what you got?
I'm gonna do mine a little different, like I did last week, just so I can, build the suspense. But we're gonna start off with Alabama and A&M. Obviously, I'm going with my team. I am worried about it and make that known, but like I said, I trust our defense, and if hopefully we can control the line of scrimmage on offense, and that'll be the difference, in my opinion, if we can do that, because their front is big, and Walter Nolan is a monster. So Alabama wins that game. Like I said, I think this is a drop nuts game for Georgia. I think it's in Athens, man. That place is gonna be rocking. Georgia Uga drops his balls right across the Wildcats' face. Georgia wins by double digits, in my opinion. I got Texas over Oklahoma. Barry's gonna love to hear this. I'm with Dylan and them. I don't think this is going to be as close as everybody thinks. Yeah, LSU's defense is ranked 117th. Missouri's quarterback is very smart. He's not super talented, but he's very smart. He hasn't thrown an interception in 350 attempts, man. He's broke the record in the SEC by over 100-something attempts. So he's not going to turn the ball over unless it's tipped, in my opinion. Like, it's going to be a tip ball or something. LSU's secondary is terrible. But I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of success running. And I don't think they can stop LSU. And this is going to be one of these weeks where I'm just going to have to bite the bullet where LSU, I think, wins pretty big. And we hear, I think they finally got it together again. And then next week, they play freaking Auburn at home. So they get to beat the crap out of Auburn. And we get to hear how Auburn wasn't as good as y'all thought they were. So, but we'll skip that. Now, just like last week, my last pick, I pulled a Bobby Boucher and Vicky Valancourt. It wasn't no guess. That's what it's going to be. And the Maryland Terps are going into Columbus, Ohio, and they are going to pull off the upset.
No way. No way.
I'm going to tell you why.
No.
I don't care about Marvin Harrison Jr. Yes, he's great. He's going to get his. But Kyle McCord is going to make that crucial mistake when it's time. He done it twice against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame dropped the interceptions right in their chest at the end of the game. They dropped 2 interceptions. He's going to do it again, and he's going to cost the Buckeyes a win. Maryland wins. They cover the spread. Go Terps.
You must be thinking about Miro.
Hey, well, Tony, I'll mention what I got to say about that game later. But Kevin Davis, what you got?
I got Ohio State beating Maryland. There's just no possible way Maryland's going into the horseshoe and beating Ohio State. I don't care. There's just no chance. I got another blowout. I think Georgia is going to steamroll Kentucky. Kentucky does it well. Georgia just does it better. They play right into Georgia's hands every single year. It's not going to be close. LSU's going to beat Mizzou. I think it's going to be close. It's probably going to be like a 34-30 type game, but I think LSU's going to win on the road. Guys, that Texas-Oklahoma game, man, I consider you guys some of the finest football minds I know, but what are y'all smoking on Oklahoma? Have you seen their schedule? I know y'all are just looking at the final scores. You have to be because, dude, Oklahoma's schedule, I mean, 6A Georgia high school teams have played tougher schedules. It's terrible. They played nobody. Texas is going to beat Oklahoma, and it's probably going to be 14 by 10 to 14 points. I've had several Michelob Ultras thinking about Texas A&M, Alabama, and you know my heart says Alabama, but my head just says A&M. I think A&M's going to win. I think our defense is good, but I'm worried that our offense can score more than 13 points on the road against a defense like Texas A&M. So until Alabama can go, play a defense like A&M and put up 30 points a game, I'm just not going to buy it. Just not going to do it. So give me Texas A&M. I'll take the 2.5 point spread, what it is right now, and I think they're going to win outright. I do think it's going to be close, but that's where I'm at.
I'm gonna take the Ohio State Buckeyes. Mr. Ryan Day, 0.889 and counting winning percentage. Probably gonna win the national championship this year and shock. And I really am torn about that game because I'm not trying to be like ugly or anything to Tua, but I really do like his brother a lot, and that's being straight unbiased. I do think Texas will win this the second game on the list there. Georgia big. This game, Texas A&M. I haven't watched a whole lot of A&M this year, but like Kevin said, you guys are some of the finest football minds that I know. And if you tell me that Texas front is as big and bad as y'all say it is, they're gonna give Miro hell. And if Miro catches hell, Texas A&M is going to do it, and we're gonna have that fall off for Miro that everybody's been thinking about, because I do not think that Miro can handle that pressure. But again, you got to tackle that big son of a gun. That dude runs like a freaking deer. It's amazing. You're going to have to tackle him. It's one thing to get pressure on him, but you got to catch him. He's a bad boy now. You know what? He reminds me of Derrick Henry playing the quarterback position. And if I'm not mistaken, last week, Derrick Henry threw him a touchdown.
Derrick Henry 6 for 7 for his career with 4 touchdown passes in the NFL.
Dude, man, I'm telling y'all right now, Troy Polamalu is like my favorite football player of all time. Derrick Henry is pushing it because Derrick Henry, man, I just love that big old joker. And listen, man, I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible with this last game. And I'm going to tell y'all straight up, I have about as much faith in LSU this year as I'm going to hit the lotto. I do not like what I see. And I am a football person. When you have a team that gives up that many points and play as bad as we do on defense, it's hard for me to pick him. But I am going to do like the Georgia Bulldog people on this place and the Alabama. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tuck my tail and I'm going to pick my beloved. But I don't have a whole lot of faith in it.
Hey, before we send us home, I'm going to give you my pick 'em. Maryland, Ohio State. Last year's game, okay, Ohio State was way better than this year's team. And it was a 13-point ball game, and the game was close for a long time. I think Maryland covers the spread, but they do lose in Ohio. Texas, Oklahoma. I kind of agree with what you guys say. Oklahoma's schedule has been atrocious. They've played schools like St. Augustine for the blind and the deaf, our Murchie High School, and it will really show this weekend. Texas will blow out Oklahoma. I think it's going to be 18 or more. I really do. Kentucky, Georgia, this is going to be the game that we've all kind of discussed in here. This will be the game that Georgia does turn the tide and comes out strong and plays a full game, complete, 4 quarters. And I think they beat Kentucky. I think they covered the spread, which is 14.5 currently. Georgia over Kentucky. This game right here, I have picked Alabama to win every game all year long. But this week, I'm not. I'll tell you why. Texas A&M, the front seven, unreal. The defense has looked, light years better than what we've seen in Miami. That all worried us, let's be honest. We were kind of, pumping the brakes on them. This game right here is a 2.5 point spread. And let's be honest, Vegas knows what they're talking about. They're always right. They're hearing and seeing something that maybe we're not necessarily talking about. I think Alabama will struggle on the road, and I'm going to go with Texas A&M to win this game. I think Milroe has 3 turnovers, and A&M walks away with a victory. Last game of the week for me, LSU, Missouri. This one right here is so tough, but I agree with what I think Dylan said. I don't think Missouri is going to turn the ball over. The quarterback has proven that. My God, he hadn't turned it over in 10 years, it seems like. I think that LSU just has too much on offense. They don't have a lot on defense, but they're going to have too much on offense. The spread on that one, they're a 6.5 point favorite on that. I think they cover. I think LSU wins by 10. And what I mean by 10, I think it's 17, but Missouri scores late and makes it 10. LSU will win this ball game, but I think this is going to be a great week. I appreciate you joining this show. This has been This Week in College Football. This is the Chop and Block podcast. Every week we're consistent. Tuesdays and Wednesdays now. Come back tomorrow night for the NFL show hosted by Beast of Kane himself. Dylan, you got something for me?
Yeah, Dalton, go ahead and drop that shit.
Yeah, we about